Good evening and welcome back to the Richmond Olympic Oval for our nightcap. We have Brazil versus Sweden, and we were thinking, Tim, and with Tim Frick, Colin Emerson, we were thinking that there could be something to play for in regards to the standings, but that was all sewn up after last game where Colombia was able to edge out the Swiss and grab that 4th spot. So we have our matchups for tomorrow. It'll be Germany versus France in the 2-3 matchup, and then the host Canadians will play the Colombians.
That's right, and 2 of those teams will punch a ticket to Tokyo to join Australia, New Zealand, Japan, USA, Great Britain, and Denmark. But before that happens, Colin, we've got a score to settle here between Brazil and Sweden.
Brazil, of course, looking for their first win, whereas Sweden thought they may have something to play for, barring the score of the last game. They don't. They have to be disappointed. They are a veteran squad coming in here, and I'm sure they expected better than the record that they have so far with just the 1 win.
Well, if there was some kind of an award for losing close games, it would be Sweden's to take home easily. A little bit of a disappointing tournament for them, but they're a solid squad, and they'll rebound, I'm sure, for the next World Championships and the next Paralympics. Our referees for tonight, Kristen Hempfling from Germany and Elvira Zielska from Poland.
And it's Sandberg and Wiersma on the tip-off. Sandberg wins it back to his man. It's Hildebrand. And he'll come in for the quick score here.
We didn't see much of Hildebrand in that 1-point loss of Sweden to Germany, so good to see he's back in action.
Goncalves is in as well. And he puts one ahead to DeBrash, who reels that one in a little bit risky as Hurt was in the vicinity, but he's able to reel it in.
So these teams are now playing for rankings in 5th, 6th, and 7th. And you may think it's not important, but it is in terms of their world ranking. Every game they play internationally counts towards their world ranking.
As Hurt and Sandberg connect on a 2-on-1 the other way, and Sweden out to the quick 2-1 lead.
See a nice little lob pass over top of Gonçalves.
Camargo, Gonçalves. As DeBrash battling for space with Hildebrand up court. But it is Goncalves spinning back. A play over the top to DeBrash, 2 scores.
And Sweden's defense a little bit disorganized as they had number 34, Hildebrand, backpicked and held out of the defensive zone.
Here the long lob ahead to Janssen, and you'll often see Janssen in the backcourt, much like he did there.
Stefan Janssen, he's known for that move where he goes wide and then cuts in across on top of the ball.
Goncalves lobs one into space to brush after it. Sandberg in his back pocket, but that's not going to matter.
So both teams scoring at will.
Neither has been able to stop the other yet.
No momentum changes at all, although Sandberg now might be in a bit of trouble. He'll have to hurry to get that one over.
Directs traffic and then just threw it there, even though there was no one to direct traffic to.
Well, normally Stefan Janssen would be cutting onto that ball, but he was hooked by Wiersma. So good play by the Brazilian defender to cause that turnover, and that's our first spark of momentum shift.
Yeah, right on cue as we were talking about it. It's Goncalves off the inbound for the Brazilians. Gets over center. He's with Camargo. There's Sandberg being tied up in the backcourt. See what happens with that as Goncalves is able to score.
So Brazil obviously scouted Sweden and realized how quick Sandberg is bringing the ball up, so they're going to keep him in the front court.
Hirt. Sandberg converged on hard by DeBrash, but maintains the ball. Now Wiersma for double pressure. Almost rejected it out of his hands, but Hirt able to field it down, not able to score as he's forced out nicely, but then gets it to Sandberg, who does convert.
Well, DeBrash had the help off of Sandberg there on the ball carrier Yurt, and that left the lane wide open for Tobias Sandberg.
Goncalves out with it. Gets past Jansen, lobs one up ahead. DeBrush into space in middle court and scores there.
So that combination, that duo of Gonçalves to DeBrush is really Brazil's bread and butter.
It was really what took them out of the game earlier versus Columbia when they broke them up. Sandberg the other way. Oh, contacted hard by DeBrush, but lobs one ahead with one arm into space. Jansen was there and reached in on hard. Triple teamed here.
Wait for the referee's call, but I think it might be a penalty against Brazil.
Yeah, they were
on the arm, so
a little too eager getting in after that ball.
Jansen, he's fast and aggressive, but he has a little bit of difficulty managing the ball in a crowd. So as soon as he got it, Brazil swarmed him and a little overzealous. Got the penalty.
Sandberg on the ball after a couple of quick passes. Slows things down. He's just going to kill some clock here. Getting instructions from the bench as he slows it right down. Now he gets the countdown, and he'll ease this one in. Camargo, Goncalves, got a wide route, looking to be cut off by Jansen, makes a nice cut to the middle. A nice pick there by Warsma, enables his job to be pretty easy.
So Gonçalves would appear to have done that all by himself, but got some nice picks from his teammates, particularly, as you mentioned, Wiersma.
Sandberg the other way is in a little bit of trouble as he's got one man on either side of him. He almost has it rejected. Now, I think it's a time violation.
He lost the handle on that one, and instead of calling a timeout, just let it go, and it'll be Brazil ball. And that's another momentum shift as we see it was knocked out by Gonçalves. Sandberg not happy about that, thought he got hit on the hands.
The brush back the other way.
And it'll be Hildebrand knocked out of bounds. That'll be a penalty.
Could hear the frustration from here from the Brazilians. So unable to capitalize so far on that error, but we'll see if they can do it here. DeBrush gets a pick from Gonçalves and is able to put it in.
Well, Yurt has Camargo trapped on the sideline there.
Hildebrand with the inbound. Goes up ahead, puts it into space for Sandberg, who wheels ahead. DeBrush doing a great job of keeping up strides with him, shutting off his space. He's wondering what to do. Hildebrand trying to help him out. He's got a little bit more space now as he's getting fronted. And Sandberg still has the ball. 3:47 to go opening quarter. Brazilians up by 2. And it's Jansen at the business end, so good play there.
Just prior to that pass, Jansen was on the far side near his own teammate with the ball, so allowing 2 Brazilians to check 3 Swedes. Then he switched to the near side near us and created a bit more space and scored the try.
Goncalves back the other way. He's got a huge lineup over center, but he's able to avoid it. Nice play by Yurt, able to
he
thwart
just
him.
stole it right off his lap as well.
And he took it right from him. I didn't even see that. It was so swift. And back the other way, Yurt avoids the contact, puts it into space, and Sandberg will be able to convert there. Wow, that was a steal. Usually
I'll tell you what, check your wallet when we leave the gym today, because that was a superior pickpocket-like move by Yurt.
Yeah, almost like Goncalves didn't even see it. Usually there's a little bit more.
I'm looking on my wrist to make sure my watch is still there.
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a contention on those loose balls most of the time. Not there. Goncalves back with the ball on the offensive side. Loves it to DeBrush. Jansen making his life difficult, but again, Goncalves makes a good pass and then a good pick. allowing Brazil to score. Still up by one of the Brazilians, and Sweden's in possession with Sandberg. Scoops it back into his lap and wheels out to center. Bounces the ball, now over the top. He's got Hirt. Usually Jansen's at the end of that business transaction, but that time it was Hirt.
Well, Wiertsma had Jansen covered over on the far side, giving Hirt a nice lane to the try line.
Goncalves working his way out wide. Camargo sets a nice pick, enabling DeBrush to have an open lane.
So this combination of DeBrush and Goncalves really giving Sweden fits here on offense and defense as Sandberg finally gets some room.
Yeah, he had to wheel back to get it as well. Now he's getting his way over center. Gets his way past Wiersma. Now cuts into the middle. Puts it into space nicely for Jansen, and he's able to score.
Well, Jansen's timing is impeccable, actually. He stays nice and wide and then able to anticipate when his teammate is ready to pass him the ball, whether it's Hirt or Sandberg.
Camargo, DeBrush. Wiersma's down court. He lobs it there, and he finds him. Wow, great job of anticipation. A great pass, and Wiersma's the benefactor there.
Taking a page out of Jansen's book, and Jansen holds him deep in the court. Now Goncalves holds Jansen back, so now he leaves, and Jansen will take off in his normal route.
Hirt trying to negotiate, in a little bit of trouble. Hildebrand trying to help him out. He lobs one over the top, and Sandberg reels it in.
Well, Sandberg, I believed, the first call was over and back, but the referee that was facing Sandberg, I believe, saw him call the timeout as he realized what was happening, and getting hit right at center. You know, you get a little way over, and then boom, you get bumped back for the over and back, and Sandberg alert to call that first of their 4 on-court timeouts, and neither team really has been in trouble that way until just now. So Sweden will maintain possession, and that's a really important factor when it comes to clock management as the quarter winds down.
We've mentioned Sweden's veteran savvy using their timeouts, and there's another example there, and they're able to convert and even the game up. Goncalves off the inbound. Gets a pick and wheels to the wide side, now back to the middle. Sandberg looking to cut him off, but it's not going to work as Camargo finishes that one.
Camargo had a solid game this morning. Been a little bit quiet here in the evening game, but comes to life with that try.
Must be more of a morning person as Hirt gets that up and ahead. Now a drop pass by Jansen to back to Hirt. He's got a lane there and is able to finish that off.
Well, excellent give and go between Jansen and Hirt.
Wiersma back off the inbound. He's already in a little bit of trouble. Drops it off for Goncalves, who is in trouble indeed, and calls a timeout.
So Goncalves was trapped near the end line. Rather than be forced over, or rather than make a difficult long pass, he elects to call the timeout. So we're all even in terms of timeouts left, Colin. All even in terms of the score as well.
Yeah, that was maybe a little bit of a kind of miscalculation there by the Brazilians getting out of their zone. And it did result in them having to use a timeout.
Well, it's the speed of transition, and really in wheelchair rugby, the transition starts actually before the try is even scored, as players are jockeying for position, and that time Goncalves was pinned deep in his own end.
Camargo off the inbound. DeBrush slowly wheeling through center, serving his options as Sweden has collapsed into that zone defense, all 4 men back. And DeBrush able to find a lane off a pick. Didn't look like he had to work that hard, but his momentum carried him in. Hildebrand inbounds for Sweden. Hirt Pressured hard by DeBrush, but finds a wide lane. Nice over the top pass to Sandberg. Avoids Goncalves and finds a lane himself. Clock management time is Sandberg getting instruction from the bench, but he does take it in with 50.9 to go, tying the game at 12.
So Sweden on that last possession by Brazil allowed them to score quickly so that they could come back and try to score at that 55-second mark. So we'll see if they get the ball back here and see if Sweden uses another timeout perhaps to use that full 55 rather than give any to, Brazil, rather than give any to Sweden.
DeBrush back the other way, contending on a double team, gets it over to Goncalves, and again, that twosome teams up for Brazil. 28.9 to go.
I don't understand that. Brazil is giving Sweden 28.9 seconds to get the last try. Just a little bit puzzling there, but I suppose they're hoping that Sweden will score early enough that they'll get a chance, but Sweden, seen them score a couple times in this tournament with under a couple of seconds left, so no other team really able to do that. Perhaps Canada, as Caldwell to Zach Medell, is a good combination.
Hildebrand keeps it short. I'm not sure what they're calling here.
I think DeBrush may have been too close to the inbounder there, and he'll take a penalty. So that will give Sweden a great opportunity here to tie it up.
28.9 to go at the start of the clock.
As they're on the power play.
Hewitt will take his time here, as he just lets the clock tick off. Players already locking each other back up in the defensive end of the court. Hewitt getting his countdown before he will eventually. 3, 2, 1, and yes, with under a second left, he puts it in. I like it.
Not a moment too soon, as Brazil will have really no chance now of scoring with 0.1 of a second.
Again, another one of those veteran savvy plays that we've talked about.
Well played by Team Brazil after a couple of turnovers really cost them a bit of momentum. They managed to claw their way back in. Brazil unable to take advantage of it.
And we'll go to the second quarter tied at 13, so it's been a competitive quarter. Both teams, as we mentioned, not much to play for in terms of standings, but world rankings do matter, as you've mentioned.
Absolutely, and we'll just run down tomorrow's schedule as we get cracking here, although I think we're going to see a few replays, as that looks like a replay of the Brazilian start to the game, and I'm always covering up all the TV monitors so the ball doesn't bounce over here and wreck them. But,
hasn't been a close call for me yet.
So as we take a look at some of the replays, and Sandberg and Yurt really the two primary ball handlers for Sweden. Jansson there, you see when he gets in trouble, he looking to hand off, but got bailed out by Wiertsma, who took that penalty.
I almost thought that both benches may, or both teams may use a bit more of their bench, just because, as like there's kind of, you've come all the way out here, maybe get a few more guys into the game, but it hasn't happened yet.
And there's that pickpocket steal by Yurt, and that was a big shift in momentum after Sweden had coughed the ball up a couple times. And I think when we come out in the second quarter, it'll be real interesting to see what Brazil does. In most of the games in this tournament, they put out an entirely new squad, or at least taken off Goncalves, and in my opinion, he is a key to their success.
Susan Hoffman also play a decent amount for Brazil, but
we'll give our sponsors a big thank you. In the last game of the day, BC Wheelchair Sports Association, Wheelchair Rugby Canada, and the International Wheelchair Rugby Federation. Our provincial government, BC, province of BC, the government of Canada through Sport Canada, Richmond Sport Hosting, and the Richmond Olympic Oval. And our corporate sponsors, Vesco, Molten, House Lager. Come on down if you're in the Lower Mainland. We're serving House Lager at the Beer Garden. And our two Vancouver Airport hotels, the Marriott and Marriott and Sheraton. And we'd like to thank them for their sponsorship. This has been a tremendous week, but it's not over yet as we have a couple of games tomorrow. France versus Germany. The winner of that goes to Tokyo, noon Sunday. And 2 o'clock, Canada against Colombia, and the winner of that one goes to Tokyo. And don't forget, folks, tonight, daylight savings time, move your clocks an hour ahead.
Yes, it'll make the days a little bit brighter, which I was kind of lamenting the other day how still felt like it was dark too early, and then I learned it was daylight savings time, so good timing. Camargo off the inbound. DeBrush. All Swedes are back in their defensive posture as 4 Brazilians wide. Oh, that was almost rejected out of DeBrush's hands, but he's able to reestablish possession.
And it looked like Hildebrand was pushed back over the try line on that play. We'll see, almost tipped away by Sandberg. DeBrush lucky to pull that one back. And
he was really
Hildebrand
close.
not paying attention, and he's hit from behind by Wiersma, and that'll be a penalty goal. The thing about the penalty goal is it's a new 40-second possession. So when time is a factor, you got to really be aware.
Brazil is able to convert. Going ahead here, 14-13. Sandberg. Hildebrand trying to help him out. Couple nice shifts by Sandberg, and he's able to get in.
DeBrush, that move by Sandberg, he faked left and went right. And DeBrush looked at his hand as if to say, what's going on here? Something wrong with my glove?
I think, yeah.
He just got beat plain fair and square on a good deke by Sandberg.
Camargo to Goncalves, and out he wheels. Sandberg in there hard, but he's not able to free up the ball. Camargo, deep court, and is able to score.
So the Brazilian coach in this game deciding to keep the bench relatively short as Gonçalves and DeBrush stay out there with Wiertzma and Camargo. And again, I think DeBrush was too close to the inbounder. He's got to be a meter away. He'll head to the penalty box.
A little too overzealous there. Hildebrand, Sandberg. Swedes have a power play here as Sandberg wheels past center. Trying to lock Wiersma up here.
Sweden already setting up to force DeBrush to call inbounder as they've got him blocked in the penalty box, and now Janssen heading down to block Gonçalves. So nice work by Team Sweden to set up transition long ahead of time.
Getting a countdown, eventually Sandberg does take it in.
So DeBrush declares inbounder status. Gonçalves has doubled. Can he get away?
Brush off the inbound. Goncalves, nice long lob there. But it looks like, ooh, that was close. A good job of Camargo to know that he wasn't going to win that race, but he just took out Yurt there, enabling Wiersma to score.
Well, heads up play by Camargo, because Yurt would have surely tracked that one down.
Hildebrand. Inbounding, looking for an option. Sandberg is usually the one they find, and they do there. Trying to negotiate his way through the defensive court. Out wide. Camargo looking to make his life difficult, but he's got a wide route. Good job by Camargo to try to stop him. Stops him up enough. And a triple team prevents him from scoring initially, but they're able to get it over the top to Yurt.
Well, nice picking by Stefan Janssen, number 13, all the way up the court. And when Sandberg is stopped, he passes over the top, just barely into the reach of Thomas Yurt.
Goncalves back the other way. Shimmying and finding a lane on the outside, and he's able to score.
Not a lot decided here, Colin, as a couple minutes gone. And still a seesaw battle, as they say.
Lob one up ahead there to the Swedes, and Sandberg's able to get that.
So it looks like Gonsalves has some equipment problems, perhaps a loose axle.
And just in the tone, I was thinking about just asking you earlier off air about upsets. What's the biggest or upset that you've seen?
Well, the one that made me cry the most was Sweden upsetting Canada in the 2010 World Championships held right here at the Richmond Olympic Oval.
And what were the world rankings at that time?
Well, that time Canada was ranked top 3, I believe. Sweden was probably 5 or 6, maybe 7. And really a disappointing moment for Team Canada. I think that was 2010. It's a long time ago now, but it still haunts my memories as
yeah.
in terms of upsets.
Another equipment issue is Camargo is getting a wheel treatment.
I don't know what's going on here. The wrong wheel, I suppose. You're an equipment technician, you rarely get to see the games because you're spending hours on end repairing those tubes every time someone gets a flat. And you know, most players have 2 or more spares, and in between times they're repaired.
And
if you want to make $1 million with me, Colin, you'll invent a hard tire that can be used for wheelchair rugby, and right now there's nothing that's really hard enough out there
to withstand all the beating that it takes.
No airless tires at all, and we got a little bit of a jousting match, it looked like, between Gonsalves and Sandberg. I think Sandberg thought he had a chance to steal that ball as he reaches in, and Gonsalves whacks his arm away. Lucky not to get called for retaliation.
As there is some jockeying for position down court, it's Janssen and DeBrush. Now they separate. And it's a Brazilian inbound here.
Not sure what's going on here. Perhaps another wheel required by Camargo. And
yeah, whatever has been happening isn't right. It's the same wheel as he just had replaced. If you did invent
some of the other teams here, taking advantage of the house lager in the beer garden, nice European style lager, and Team Switzerland quite interested in that.
Gonsalves in, gets a score. I was going to say, if you were able to invent a wheel that was more structured, the one people that wouldn't like you is the guys who manufacture the current ones.
Well, I'm sure they would have the patent on the new style as well.
And Hirt is able to score, giving Sweden the lead, but it's been back and forth, as Tim was mentioning, all game. Not a whole lot between these two teams thus far. 4:52 to go in the second quarter.
Well, Brazil was seemingly in control early in the game, and quietly Sweden now ahead.
DeBrush bounces the ball, gives instructions to his man, and tries to take the center lane. It didn't look like he had it, but did a good job of hopping in between, using his body and forward motion there as we get a good look. Some good hard pushes. He sees the hole here, tries to stop him, but leans in and
Sandberg there had to stop Gonsalves, and that opened up the middle.
Hirt gets a nice pick there, and Sweden is on the attack. Hirt, Sandberg, and that's a goal, and I think DeBrush has a tire issue on that contact.
A flat tire on that contact, giving Sweden an effective 4-on-3. He'll get a new wheel, and the problem with the rugby chair design, well, not a problem, but one of the characteristics, those two anti-tip wheels are so very close to the gym floor that if you get a flat, you can't get any traction at all on the wheel that's flat. So you're kind of have to wait for the equipment technician before you can get back into the play.
Brazil now on the attack. To Brush, working on Sandberg. Spins this way and that. Now takes a wide route and's got a middle lane, which he uses. Hildebrand, Sandberg. Jansen's getting down court. Can they find him? There he is. Woo! That one was right on the hair of his chinny chin.
That was very close as Stefan Jansen showing some great speed. And we take a look at that replay and he got to the ball just before
just able to squeeze it too. To Brush back the other way. Sweden's really collapsing down in their defensive zone, allowing Brazil to get the center line easily in there. I'm not sure if that was a penalty as Sandberg reached in hard on him and sent him down, but I don't think so.
I think DeBrosh actually tipped himself over. He does have a high center of gravity and had the ball above his head and was being jostled by the two Swedish players. And as he's on his way down, wisely calls the timeout. Good job of falling too. Notice how he kept his chin tucked into his chest.
Yeah, that's one of the first things you learn in any time of falling when you're not the most mobile is tuck the head in. I also do the falling on the hip. I find that's a good place to land.
So Brazil with their first substitutions of the game, Souza and Hoffman into the game.
Yeah, they were their first two substitutions they made last game as well, so following a familiar script. And let's see how Brazil is able to do without Goncalves on the court. Last time they took him out, it was kind of a momentum killer, so we'll see if it's familiar or if they'll extend the tide. We'll find out. Sandberg back the other way. Trying to take the middle, gets center. A nice pick from Jansen. And he'll take that in himself as he dodges one last check.
Brazil going with a more balanced lineup. The 2-2s out there with the .5. That ball tipped off.
Oh, that was
I think the elbow of Hoffman, and Sandberg alertly picks it up as no one from Brazil really noticed it.
No, they didn't. And you're right, that turnover is going to be costly.
You know, with Gonçalves out of the game.
Yeah, it's just like almost on cue in both occasions. And is it just part of it that the time of the game that they're not warm, or is it just the chemistry between the players?
I think it's the matchups, Yurt and Sandberg against DeBrosh and Gonçalves. That's a better matchup for Brazil. So Yurt there did a great job of protecting the post, but ends up being pushed across the try line, and he'll go to the penalty box.
So the Swedes have a two-try lead, 2:33 to go. First half, second quarter.
Probably worth the effort to put pressure on DeBrosh. And not sure who has an equipment issue. Looks like Thomas Yurt.
Hey, it's the Swedes' turn though. The last 3 or 4 in a row had been Brazil.
Can't see what's happening. It might be his classification number has torn off, as I believe those are held on by zip ties. As you can see the number on the back of each player's chair indicating the classification.
That was a nice addition. It wasn't something I was used to, but I do find that it is helpful. There we go. She seems attached.
So 2:29 to go in the second quarter, Colin. I think that Team Sweden will probably start thinking about clock management now. The possession will be Sweden's in the third quarter, so if they can get last try here in the second quarter, then they'll start with the ball third quarter. It could be a bit of a 2-try swing if things go well. Let's see what Brazil has to say about that.
Hildebrand off the inbound, finds Sandberg. Kurt trying to get down court for him. He won't be able to do it right away. Sandberg carries through. Gonna need some help here as he's contacted twice. He's double teamed now, triple teamed, but able to get it over the top to Hirt. Hirt into the middle, and that's a good way to beat the heat by the Swedes as Janssen on the business end finishes that one. Reestablishes the 2-point advantage.
Heads up play by Thomas Hirt to come back when his primary ball handler was in trouble, and of course Janssen almost always wide open.
Souza now beats Hildebrand and scores for Brazil.
So Brazil trading that little bit of height and ball handling for a little bit of extra speed on average from the top to bottom on the team. We'll see how that plays out.
Hirt, Sandberg. Back to Hirt, give and go, work to perfection there. To brush back the other way, 3 wide. Attacking the middle lane, shimmies to the outside. Tries to get inside, a good Joe defensively. Janssen all over him now. In comes Hirt. He's in trouble a little bit as he spins back. Nice pick by Wiersma to get him a lane, but the other side's jammed.
Oh boy, Brazil was bailed out there.
Yeah, it looked like they were in
Wow,
trouble.
they
and
were
they're
in
laughing
serious
about
trouble
it.
as that pass was nowhere near Camargo, but the Swedes, number 6, Tobias Sandberg, I think he and Janssen miscommunicated as to who was to go back into the key, and Janssen will get the penalty. It would have been a turnover and a big one, so Brazil dodging a bit of a momentum shift there as they'll get a chance to redeem themselves.
The brush. Weaving his way through, Hoffman gives him a nice pick. And just, they want to trap. I
Both
believe it's
teams,
Janssen in the
both teams
box
looking pretty
there.
good in terms of timeouts. With Brazil has 2 left on court and Sweden with 3, so Brazil will try to hit that magic 55-second mark, and they're off by 0.1.
Nice swat one up ahead there, right on to Hirt. Trying to be cut off by Hoffman, but that's not going to work. And 52.5 to go in the second quarter. Swedes up by 1, 25-24.
So nice job by the Swedes to score early. So they are thinking about forcing Brazil to use that timeout. Brazil may elect not to, though, and give the Swedes a few seconds with which to score. And in advance, we'll watch for Sandberg to throw the long bomb to either Hirt or Janssen, should that opportunity arise.
So Brush trying to force his way through the middle. Swat in the hands, and that's a turnover, I believe, or are they calling a penalty here?
No, it's a violation as the ball went off of Camargo's lap and out of bounds, and it'll be Sweden ball.
So can the Swedes expand the lead to 3?
So Brazil really squanders that opportunity.
That's going to hurt, I think. Sandberg the other way, gets a countdown, and he takes it. Thought maybe he'd try to kill some more time. There's still 8.3 on the clock.
Well, without Gonçalves in there, they'll put some pressure on
DeBrash, 2 seconds. What's he going to do? Almost turned it over. I'm surprised that wasn't a turnover. It looked like Sandberg had a line, but Souza contacted him.
So Brazil, without Gonçalves in there, not able to advance the ball with passing, which is much faster than wheeling, of course.
What did you think about that last play there?
Well, they had no choice. They don't have another passer in there, so DeBrash had to wheel with the ball. And as he ran out of time, that hope pass. So Brazil really squandering the end of quarter situation, giving the veteran Swedish team a bit of a break. They have a 3-try lead, and I believe it'll be Sweden possession at the start of the third quarter.
3-try lead, as you mentioned, still the 3-player timeouts as well. We'll get a look as DeBrush threw that hope pass and popped into Sandberg's lap, and then Souza kind of contacted it back out.
Well, Hoffman was open had he had that pass been far enough, but really too little too late for Team Brazil in that quarter.
Yes, so The Swedes in a decent position going to the third quarter here. And if you're Brazil, how do you kind of stem the tide? Is it just about, again, we've always talked about limiting those mistakes?
Well, definitely they have to play a little tactically more aware. Sweden right now is, quite honestly, is outsmarting them. They allowed that pass deep on that last play into DeBrush, knowing that there was no long pass available. And
as part of
Gonçalves really, I think, is the key to that Brazilian attack. I mean, I love Souza and Hoffman. They're good, solid players, but the matchups just don't work. Thomas Yurt is a little too quick, a little too strong, a little too agile against the Class 2 Brazilians, either Hoffman or Souza. And there's nothing gained in the matchup between Stefan Janssen and one of those two Class 2s. Janssen just as fast and good ball handler as well. And we see there, nice pass, bump pass up ahead to Yurt. So the matchups aren't working very well for Team Brazil. And you know, sometimes when you're coaching, you want your matchups to equal out and even out things. Sometimes you want to take advantage of a weakness of another team. And in this case, it's Sweden taking advantage of a lack of height and a little bit less speed.
Yeah, so we'll see if
Gonçalves, when Gonçalves is on the bench.
Yeah, we'll see if he finds his way back in to start the second half. And while we're at it, we may want to thank our sponsors for the final time tonight. And that's Richmond Sport Hosting, the Government of Canada, and British Columbia alike. We'd like to thank both hotels that host our athletes, coaches, and volunteers. That's the Marriott Vancouver Airport and the Sheraton Vancouver Airport. So they're both conveniently located close to this beautiful Olympic Oval facility. So thanks to everyone for hosting us in this great event in this fabulous facility.
It's Moulton, of course. Pretty well the only supplier for wheelchair rugby balls, and they've done it for many years now. Started out as one of the heavy volleyballs, and then now it's a specially designed wheelchair rugby ball. And Vesco, of course, sponsoring many of the athletes here, Colin, at this event for rugby chairs and day chairs. And boy, those Vesco chairs, they take a beating, but really, it's the only thing that ever really happens is flat tires.
Yeah.
And if they can find a solution to that, and I'm sure they've got a research team working on that one right now. So tomorrow, we will see France versus Germany in the first qualification match. The winner of that goes to Tokyo. That's 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock Pacific time. Canada will take on Colombia. The winner of that one goes to Tokyo as well. And don't forget, folks, tonight, if you're in British Columbia at least, and many parts of Canada, it'll be daylight savings time tomorrow, so move your clocks ahead. We'll lose an hour of sleep, and hopefully everybody knows that so they don't show up an hour late for the game.
Well, I have nothing to do, so I won't lose the hour of sleep, that's for sure. As we're underway now, the Swedes in possession. It's Yurt. Wide side, Sandberg. Uses the lane, spins back towards the middle, and around the traffic. Wants to lob it, and indeed that's what he does. Wow, what a lob pass to Yurt.
Well, that's a set play by Janssen and Yurt there to run that back screen, and then Yurt spins out and goes around the outside. Good job by Stefan Janssen.
Over a bunch of players, that looks really nice.
And Brazil now, the young number 7, De Lima, in the game. He provided a lot of energy to the team earlier in the week. A bit less experience than DeBrush, but certainly a real spark plug, and I think that's what the coach is hoping for here, maybe to light a fire under these Brazilian players and get some momentum going.
So DeBrush and Gonçalves already taken out of the game, as you mentioned, so they're two high-powered offensive guns. We'll see how this impacts the game going forward. Right now it's Sweden at 28-25 and in possession of the ball here. Straight ahead, Yurt, Sandberg, and he's able to take it in.
So the 3.5 for Brazil. Lots of speed, De Lima, and lots of energy. And we'll see if he can make a difference. But a little bit of a slow start here for Team Brazil.
Has the ball here, does De Lima. Susan Wiersma with him. Hoffman on the far side. De Lima wants to go middle. That's cut off, so goes wide side. Fake. Oh, what a nifty couple moves there as he's able to get in. So you're mentioning the young wheels there, and they're showing off in spades here as we get a look at a nice couple fakes as he's able to get in and score.
And he almost picked off that inbounds pass to Sandberg as well. But the advantage that Sweden has, Yurt, number 22, over either Hoffman or Souza in terms of mobility and speed. Really a tough matchup for Team Brazil.
And could this be so much about, for Brazil, not even getting them going, but maybe getting some people some experience, knowing that they've come out this far? And you want to, you talk about experience, but unless you actually get some practical on-court experience, it's a different story.
So once again, De Lima weaves his way through the Swedish defense. Nice back screen by Souza there.
Oh, and Hoffman goes down, but Sweden has the ball, so we're going to play this one out as Hirt scores, and now we'll get some attention. He seems to be all right. But
if a player goes down, Colin, the rule basically is that if they're in danger of being injured, obviously the referee will blow the whistle and stop the play right away. If the team with the ball, if it's a defensive player down, the team with the ball turns away from the try line, they'll also blow the whistle. Otherwise, it's a play on and score, and then we'll get you once there's a stoppage.
So will be a Swedish inbound in here. Yes, there we are, and Hildebrand will facilitate that. Gets it up to Hirt. Wheels instead of making a pass. Wide on Hoffman. De Lima in to contact him hard, but he's able to get it across to Sandberg. But again, De Lima having those young arms.
He's a little bit late, though. You got to hit the guy just as they're passing or just before they pass so that they hopefully cough it up. And that time De Lima sending a message, but a little bit late, and I'm not sure that message really that effective. It seems like Sweden here is content now to fall back on defense.
De Lima trying to weave his way through. Oh, it's almost popped out of his hands. There's a fight for the ball. Who's going to end up with it? There's a mad scrum here, and it looks like Sandberg has it. And he does.
We'll take a look at the referee call. So that will be a penalty, I believe, on it's either 7 or 8. Number 7, De Lima, will head to the penalty box as he
wasn't
made
quite ready.
Contact with Sandberg's arm while they were fighting for the ball.
Hirt, who got in there originally to disrupt him, he was kind of like just picked his head up, and Hirt went underneath him.
So Brazil in a little bit of trouble here, as I'm sure Sweden will try to force De Lima to declare himself as the inbounder.
Sandberg taking his time, trying to trap
Brazil squanders that possession.
And the Swedes will expand their lead to 5 points here. It's just a matter of time as they're ticking down the clock. 4, 2, he takes it in at 2. And indeed that does happen, so De Lima will have to inbound the ball.
So the usual trusty receiver is now inbounding, although he does have good range in his passing, so that is an advantage.
Oh, that was a dangerous pass in double coverage as Souza fields it down, but he's under a tremendous amount of pressure, and I believe he calls a timeout here.
I think it might be a penalty on Hildebrand for reaching in.
Well,
Boy, he really threaded the needle with that pass, and Hildebrand from the backside makes contact with Souza's shoulder, I should say.
And then comes up and looks like he might have contacted him a bit in the face there.
So Brazil lucky to get out of that one, as Sweden had excellent defensive position, denying those two inbound receivers.
So it is a Brazilian ball on the sidelines. Looking to get some offense going. It's Goncalves back in the game.
So De Lima's minutes limited, and here comes their starting lineup of DeBrage and Gonçalves.
Looks like they've got D'Souza with them. Or no, that's Camargo. Oh, no, it is D'Souza in the back court there. Let's see.
I think far side.
Yeah. It is indeed. Now Sweden has the ball. Up ahead to Hirt. So Brazil giving a few different guys some time.
Well, nice too sometimes to, when you get a shot, to get it with some of the starters so that you can show the coach that you fit in well with that group.
It's always easier to fit in with the best players for sure. DeBrage with the ball now. Camargo trying to give him a pick. Goes over the top to Goncalves, and that will count.
D'Souza with a nice little back screen down the corner to open up the space on the far post.
Sandberg working from a defensive posture, almost turned that over as D'Souza was on him, but he's able to field the ball back. Camargo and D'Souza making his life difficult. Here bounces the ball. What's he going to do now? He has no forward motion. Bounces once again. Will he be forced to call timeout here? We'll find out. Hasn't yet. Goes back to Sandberg. Pressured hard, but reels it in on the backside. He's double teamed himself. They're running out of time. Here he gets it back. The time is ticking down. And Janssen just able to convert.
Well, heads up play by Janssen to turn around and face the receiver to make the reception a little bit easier.
As we take a look at that.
And you're a little bit lackadaisical there.
Now up over the court, it's Camargo back the other way for the Brazilians, and he'll take that one in. So 2:52 to go in the third quarter. It's a 4-point game now. Swedes lead 35-31, so Brazil's going to need to make some quick defensive turnovers and aggressive pressure if they want to get back into this one. Hildebrand to Sandberg. Double teamed in backcourt, aggressively pressed as if on cue. And
well, at the 11-second mark, Yurt uses one of the 3 remaining on-court timeouts. Both teams down to 2 now, and that's a smart play, as right now the momentum seems to be shifting back towards Brazil with the reinsertion of the dynamic duo Gonçalves and DeBrage.
Yeah, they are the straw that stirs the drink, especially when you've seen them with different combinations of 2 guys next to them, and each time they're still doing well. So Hildebrand on the inbound, a short one, and launched by Sandberg into the backcourt where Jansson's waiting. One-hands it, and that's going to go out. That's a turnover by the Swedes there. So they tried the long bomb, didn't work. As we see it here, the long bomb. Janssen tries to reach it with that, and it pops out. Tries to get a touch on it again and can't do it.
Well, that pass was a bit flat, so the bounces were long and hard. A little bit higher, and it may have bounced into the waiting arms of Janssen.
And back the other way to Brush, fighting through for a try. As we see him fight through there, shimmy and shake, get that middle lane.
Well, Gonçalves on the far side was commanding a lot of attention, and that opened up a bit of a gap on the near side.
Here, back the other way, pump fakes and goes long to Janssen. This time he's able to catch that one, making quick amends. 2:06 to go, third quarter, 4-try lead for Sweden, 36-32. Dangerous pass and coverage there, but Goncalves is able to field it down with his long arms and beat the heat out of the defensive zone. Gets to center as he bounces the ball, shifts to the inside, all the way through.
Well, nice cross picking by DeBrosh there to let Goncalves give him some room.
Now the Swedes working in backcourt. Sandberg looked like he had a little trouble with that, but he's able to make a good pass to Hirt. And then he's got his man, which he doesn't pass to, and Janssen resumes the defensive responsibilities.
Well, Janssen there, instead of going deep that time, ran interference on Goncalves, allowing Hirt to go in untouched. Heads up play by the veterans.
The brush. Back the other way, Camargo trying to give him a pick. Goncalves coming in as well. Swedes doing a good job of staying with it. Camargo, really nice pick there, enabling DeBrush to score. Just clipped him a little bit with his wheels, did Camargo. Sandberg. What's he going to do here? He's under tremendous pressure. Goes short, and that was almost a turnover, but they forces them to take a timeout. So twice in recent memory that Brazil is able to force Sweden into timeout. So that aggressive attack that we recommended they'd have, they've brought it here. Sweden's only got one player timeout left. And almost a little tricky pass there, but Hirt is able to reel it in from behind him. Now swivels wide. Goncalves doing a good job of stopping him before he can take it in. Now he's double teamed from the backside, finds Sandberg. Sandberg out wide, stops up and eases it in.
Well, Janssen was open on the far post, but instead of calling for the ball, he comes across, sets a cross pick, takes out two Brazilian players and allows Sandberg to score in the far post.
Goncalves back in with 40 seconds to go. Clock management time here. Of course, the Brazilians still have two timeouts, so I don't know what their tactic is here, but Goncalves outside of the zone with under 30 seconds to go now. Bounces the ball.
Well, Sweden with some aggressive defense.
He's in a bit of a long jam and forces him to use that timeout, so they're still going to have the ball with 14.6 and probably just tick down the clock as much as they can before they try to score.
Great play by Team Sweden there to trap DeBrosh and force they were trying to force the pass, but instead force a timeout, which is just fine because both teams now with one on-court timeout left heading into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the Swedes are more usually just collapsing the defense, so a good adjustment on the fly there. DeBrosh. Camargo helping him out. Goncalves in as well. Takes the wide side. Can he get to the middle? Oh, no, it's swatted away. Who can get possession here? And it is Goncalves as time runs out. So almost another costly error by the Brazilians there in which they do recover the ball.
But still failing to score that final try, Colin. Really a momentum shift. They will get the first possession of the next quarter, but
it does
instead
hurt.
of being down two potentially and really putting the Swedes in trouble, they're down four right now with that first possession. And boy, oh boy,
it's funny how
really, you see DeBrosh there wheeling into a crowd.
It's funny, I know we keep saying it, but almost at the end of each quarter, the Swedes are able to pull out, whether it's a timeout, whether it's forcing Brazil or another team into plays they don't want to make. They really understand the clock management aspect of the game.
Or don't they? And just taking a look at that spark provided by young De Lima as he scored a couple of tries all by his lonesome, weaving through the Swedish defense.
Was a little bit overzealous, took a penalty as well, and
that's right.
Wasn't in for very long, but he was certainly noticeable when he was in there.
Certainly made his presence known. And tomorrow, of course, 12 o'clock, Pacific, France and Germany. 2 o'clock, Canada and Colombia. The winners of those 2 games will head to Tokyo to join Australia, New Zealand, Japan, USA, Great Britain and Denmark in the Paralympics late August. And Sweden has been to a number of Paralympics. They were in 2012 and 2016. This will be the first time they have missed out in a little while. And Denmark, I believe it'll be their first Paralympics, if I'm not mistaken, although hopefully Nate's listening and he can correct me on that.
I think I saw Denmark once, was in 2014 at the Canada Cup. I think they were there for that. So D'Souza back out there to start the 4th quarter for Brazil. DeBrush with the ball, gaining some speed, driving in wide now, tries to force his way through the middle. That's not going to work. Trying to contend with a few Swedes. What a pass over to Camargo, who puts it in, and Hildebrand forced to inbound for the Swedes. Sandberg avoids contact and goes wide side. Here had a little trouble fielding it down originally. Oh, and then he gets his finger caught against his wheel as he was contacted by DeBrush, and that's gotta hurt.
Ooh, that was nearly an over and back too, and I think Yurt called a timeout to avoid that over and back.
As we'll see here, he's avoiding the contact from DeBrush. He's on the outside, and you can't see it there, but I got a pretty good view of it as his hand got caught against his wheel in the contact.
And I don't think he actually did touch the center line even, so just to be sure, he calls the timeout.
And now gets a wide lane in, and he'll go for the score. So they increase their lead to 4 now. 34 seconds into the 4th, and possibly final quarter of this one, unless Brazil can mount a big comeback here as Goncalves gets over, not quite over center, but he lobs one ahead. Camargo in backcourt.
Well, Camargo's had a pretty good tournament for Brazil, playing a pretty solid defense, and also taking a page out of Stefan Jansson's book by getting out wide and moving on to those long bomb passes.
That's a wheel all the way by Sandberg. D'Souza killing a little more clock, and now Goncalves comes in. 2-on-1 as just backing his way in, protecting the ball. Now finds a trailer. That's here. Nice pass over the top. And Janssen is on the business end of that. So good job of a 3-way passing play, but also to manage the clock a little bit.
Manage the clock and get their defensive setup, although Goncalves
broke that
easily. Yeah.
Broke that up real good and goes in for the try.
And that's the difference between him and either of the Class 2s that replace him, is his size and speed.
So will be a Swedish inbound. It's Hildebrand. A little surprised we haven't seen Lovgren. He's the guy who inbounds for Sweden quite a bit. Haven't seen him yet in this one. Maybe still, as there's still 6:34 to go. And Hildebrand takes that on the give and go there. Hildebrand in middle court takes it. He's got Sandberg and finds him.
There's a nifty little pass by Hildebrand, almost picked off by Camargo. He's a little bit mad at himself as I think he tipped that one.
And Goncalves.
Sweden abandons that full court pressure in favor of their key defense.
Which do you prefer? If you're a coach, you're coaching your team, do you like the zone, or do you like to mix it up?
Pressure all the way. I do like confusion, though, so mixing things up from time to time. And Benoit Lebrecht, the veteran coach for Team Sweden, obviously doing a good job of that in this game.
Rushing in the middle, Goncalves back to DeBrush, right on the line. He's able to wheel it over.
So that time, I think it was Yurt electing to try to deflect that pass rather than perhaps push De Lima over the line.
Wow, nice pass into space, and I don't think Goncalves saw it coming because he looked surprised as it came over his shoulder. Looked like he was on a good lane to intercept that.
I'm not sure what he was yelling at his teammates there, but a little bit upset, perhaps with himself for not picking that one off, or perhaps with his teammates for allowing that pass.
DeBrush got it now. Trying to get in the middle, that's not gonna work.
So Goncalves will head to the penalty box. And Brazil squanders yet another opportunity.
Sandberg over center. Margot
Not quite sure what the call was there.
back into the middle, and Hewitt on the business end takes care of that.
Goncalves looked like he went over to the penalty box, and then he came back over. I'll have to get Frosty to explain that one to me.
Oh, that one's tipped away and out. It should be a Brazil ball from my eyes here. We'll see.
I think they're a little bit lucky. We'll see the replay here. That ball tipped by Sandberg. It may have gone off Goncalves, but he plays innocent, and it'll be Brazil ball.
5-point lead for the Swedes. Brazil in possession. DeBrush trying to beat Sandberg. Drives him wide. Janssen in there to help out as well, but they are able to score.
Well, DeBrush had that same pass quite a bit earlier, and if he's guilty of anything, it's overhandling the ball.
Sandberg back the other way, and he's just really managing the clock on most of his recent tries, just taking as much time as he can off the clock, establishing defensive position in transition. Again, the veteran savvy that the Swedes have.
A good adjustment by Sweden, as two of their players were caught up court, so they extended their defense.
Good pass into the middle there, Camargo.
So a little bit of confusion on the Swedish defense, or a little bit late adjusting, and Brazil takes advantage of it.
Hewitt. And DeBrush trying to make his life difficult, trying to cut him off. He does that. Forces him to spin back over the top. Sandberg reaches in there one hand and scoops that one in. Nice job of the pass and a good job of the reception.
That was a little bit too casual for my liking, but
Hewitt right through the middle as Camargo was in the lane, but able to use his big arms with Sandberg, and now back the other way. Oh, Sandberg contacts, I believe. I'm not sure who's down there. Is it? No, it
sort of happened
Camargo,
away
I believe,
from the play, and
yeah,
not really sure.
Looked like he contacted the side of the wheel. Camargo appears to be all right.
So it'll be a penalty to Sandberg. He's wondering why. The referee sticking to the call, obviously.
And
I think
Sandberg's giving a penalty there.
Did they blow the whistle down before the goal? Yes, they did. So they're before the try, so no try. But Brazil will be on the power play.
And they score there. So Sandberg is out.
I mean, they were going to score anyway, so nothing really lost there, except for the fact that now Sandberg has to inbound the ball. And Yurt is double teamed. Nice move by Janssen there to get rid of it.
Yeah, get
right
rid
away.
of it. And gives it into space. Back to Sandberg. Good speed, but he's cut off there right at the end. To Susan to help out for a double team.
So a penalty try, as I think it was. Goncalves that
reaching
went over the line.
Yeah, he did indeed.
Well, he reached in and he went over the line, so penalty try.
Hard contact there by Janssen on Camargo. Hewitt in to help out. And he calls the Brazil's last time out here with 3:07 to go.
Boy, oh boy, I thought that Sandberg had tied that one up legally a couple of times. And instead, he'll be penalized for reaching in. And
Sweden doesn't like it. So we see here.
See, that's a good
Camargo.
tie-up right there. And that's another good tie-up right there. So Sweden a little bit unhappy with that call, but to be fair, he likely did smack him on the arm at some point during that jostling match.
Exactly 3 minutes to go. Swedes with a 4-point lead, 46-42. And one up ahead. Here's Janssen. Fields that one down and looks behind him, sees what's coming. Takes a few dribbles, kills a few seconds before ultimately scoring.
So Brazil got caught napping in transition there as Janssen.
Is Janssen one of the better 1.0s that you've seen? Because he's so effective. Yeah.
One of the highest scoring 1.0s for sure, and also one of the toughest defenders at the 1.0 position. And he was guilty in the past of taking too many penalties, but he's really managed to control that energy of his and takes very few penalties now, so good for him for making that adjustment. Coach Lebrecq probably quite happy about that.
As Hirt working the other way. Lobs one far side. Sandberg anticipating contact. Almost close to us here. I was bracing for contact there for a second.
Saw my life flash before my eyes there as DeBrage had a head of steam going, and as did Sandberg.
Yeah, you see me leaning back down
That's
there.
right. Yeah. Did I flinch? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. As that one's lobbed up and ahead. Camargo there.
So Brazil got themselves in a bit of a deficit there. They've managed to sort of play the old seesaw game for the last few minutes, but they really needed to close that gap, and time running out on the Brazilians.
A bounce by Sandberg as he's working back on the offense. Another collision here, 2-on-2. But he's able to get it to Hirt, who one touches that almost in backcourt to Janssen. So a nice passing play to beat the heat by the Swedes there. And with 1:54, and now they still have a 4-point lead.
Still a fair amount of time left, but time will be Brazil's enemy unless they score quickly.
And they do. Looks like an extra second may have ticked off there, but and now the Swedes on the offense. Hirt, Sandberg, Janssen. Brazil still does have one timeout left. 90 seconds to go in this one. Goncalves breaks free of the oncoming Swedes, and Hildebrand is the last one he's got to contend with. Nope, actually, Hirt's there, but that's not going to matter as he gets a pick from DeBrush.
So the team's content now to trade tries. I'm sure Sweden's quite content with that 3-try lead and possession of the ball to trade. They will take a look at managing the clock right now, though.
Yeah, you got to think as DeBrush trying to make Sandberg's life difficult. Throws one into a leaning Hirt, who reels it in. He goes back, looks the other way, and Goncalves knows he has to pressure him so he doesn't eat as much clock. Now Camargo in there as well. Hirt spinning back and forth. Doing a good job managing the clock, maintaining possession here. Goncalves cutting him off, and he's forced into the post.
And that'll be a penalty try as Goncalves forced into the post. Nice work by Sandberg there to make that happen as Hirt was trying to go near side.
And
not much left for Brazil to do now, but practice their clock management as the time winds down.
Yes, as DeBrush back the other way, swatted at by Sandberg. Not going to give him an easy time here. And again, staying right with him. He allows it over the top to Camargo, who puts it in. 21.1 to go. 3-point game. So still Sweden in full control of this one. Sandberg with more than likely the last possession of the match here. 17 to go. 15 as he gets over center. He's cut off by DeBrush. In comes Jansen to support him. From the backside, he gets a countdown. 7, 3, and that'll do it as Team Sweden, a disciplined effort and more, I would say, the veteran savvy, the execution, understanding the different moments of the game a little bit more than the Brazilians did. Though for a team that was 0-5, I believe, in the tournament, you got to give Brazil some credit. They have some good players in Gonçalves and DeBrush, who can really be something to build on. Camargo was good as well, and the Swedes, what can you say? They have some good players. They've got Sandberg and these guys who have Yurt, who have been there, and Jansen, who have done it a long time. So, I mean, not the tournament that both these teams probably wanted, especially Sweden, but, you know, as individual players, and the future, you know, looks bright, especially for Brazil.
So Sweden will end up with 2 wins and 4 losses and out of contention. Brazil will finish in 7th spot in the tournament, 0-6. And I'm sure Sweden quite disappointed as they lost a couple of close ones along the way. Brazil probably a little disappointed, as I think they felt after Rio that they were improving and on the upswing. And in fact, their world ranking was 9. So that's nothing to sneeze about. So Team Brazil a little bit disappointed here, I'm sure, as are Team Sweden. But very entertaining game, and really a tactical battle today between Sweden and Brazil.
And as Tim mentioned, you got to tune in tomorrow, as there'll be 4 teams left with 2 spots remaining for the Paralympic qualifying. As the first, it'll be Team France in the number 2 seed versus Germany, who had some would consider a surprising tournament. And then the 1 versus 4 matchup is the host Canadians versus the Colombians. So be sure to tune in. I'm sure that starts at noon tomorrow for the 2 and 3.
That's right. And also at 10 o'clock on murderball.tv will be the finals of the Vancouver Invitational tournament that's been going on the other court. So that one will be broadcast as well. So we'll see who wins that tournament.
Plenty of action tomorrow if you like wheelchair rugby, and if you've enjoyed this, thank you so much for tuning in today, and it's been my pleasure working with you, Tim. And for Tim Frick, I'm Colin Emerson saying good night, and hopefully you enjoy the games tomorrow.